Sig is in, well, a tight spot right now. Not much has really gone their way recently. While they still have a few coveted military contracts, the civilian side of the shop is pretty much propped up by the P365. Sig really needs a win to regain some of the goodwill that they squandered. So, is the P211 GTO the win they need? I'll be honest and admit that at first I struggled to figure out what to say about the GTO. Double stack 1911s in 9mm are by no means a new concept, and the GTO isn't even the first one to accept 320 mags. What Sig has really done, though, is they've examined the world of 2011 style pistols and put their own flourishes on one. I'll get to the particulars later, but I want to talk about shooting the GTO first. And my first few rounds through it were worrying. While I was zeroing the Vortex Defender that I mounted on here, every round in my first magazine failed to go into battery. I'd have to reach up and nudge the slide forward slightly. And then it happened again twice on the next magazine, and again. And that wasn't the only issue I ran into. When the slide was locked to the rear and I inserted a fresh magazine and hit the slide release, again it failed to go into battery. This continued up until about 200 rounds, and then the issue completely resolved itself. Truthfully, it's my fault for not realizing that a pistol like this was gonna need a break-in. I don't begrudge the GTO a break-in period. I know there are people who get super up in arms about break-in periods, but I don't really mind it. Honestly, I've never had a Sig product that required a break-in, but the GTO is also like no Sig I've ever touched before. It was able to instantly show how bad of a shooter I was. Slapping the trigger, hits over to the right. Anticipating recoil, a nice little monolith of vertical hits. But when I did my part, it rewarded me graciously. When you do your part, it's really clear that Sig put in the time to get all those parts to work in concert. Probably the most apparent contributor to the GTO's performance is the compensator. It's large enough that it has enough surface for the gases to work on it, but it's also got enough volume that it's not obnoxiously loud and the shooter's not getting a lot of concussion coming back at them. The GTO is also sprung incredibly well. The recoil spring is strong enough to do what it needs to do, but not ruining the GTO's amazing ability to return to zero. Getting splits of 0.20 and 0.18 were the norm, and I even dropped as low as 0.16 while staying in the optic. The controls are actually really good. The safety has zero play in it and is almost perfectly balanced. I wouldn't mind a little bit more tension on it from the plunger spring, but of all of the production 1911s that I can recall, only the Springfield TRP had a safety that was fit quite as well as this. It does have an ambidextrous slide release, and Sig chose to go with only a slightly enlarged one. No surfboard sitting on the side there. It works really well from both sides. There is a grip safety, and grip safeties are still stupid. If this was mine, then I'd install a grip safety delete kit on there. The trigger is the least impressive of the controls. It has a fair bit of vertical travel in there, but the more important lateral travel is minor. The trigger breaks at about 3 3/4 pounds and has about 2 millimeters of take up, then creeps about 3 millimeters through the wall to 1 millimeter of over travel. It's not a bad trigger by any means, but a good smith could get in there and make this a phenomenal trigger. The GTO is hefty. It comes in just under 46 ounces, and that weight contributes to its shootability. When it's out of the holster, you're gonna appreciate it, but when it's in the holster and you're having to walk around a long day of competition, you may come to loathe it. The GTO is not a carry pistol, though I do know there is somebody out there who's gonna EDC it just for the cool points, and man, I will give you those cool points, but don't try and snowblind me with reasons on why it's practical. Sig does market a combat version of it, but man, the marketing department must have been getting into some of that Walter White goodness when they came up with it. If you make me carry one of these through a full shift or out on a patrol, I'm gonna hate you. That all said, when the timer beeps, the GTO does some heavy lifting. The recoil is almost imperceptible with how well balanced it is, and the lengths to which Sig went to get this action buttery smooth are immediately appreciated. And once I got the break-in period out of the way, it ate everything I put in it, including hollow points. The GTO doesn't make you better, but it does get out of the way and let you observe your own behaviors. It's a consummate partner as you go to impose your will on a stage. Running the GTO hard is like pushing a well-tuned sports car around a track. When the dot's resting on the target and you feel the take-up of the trigger, it's like entering the turn at the exact perfect instant. When your double tap comes up stacked on one another, you get the same rewarding sensation as when you go around the apex of a corner and carry every joule of energy you can with you. And when you shoot off for the next array of targets with the GTO firmly nested in your hands, it's like grabbing the perfect upshift on the exit as you shoot down the straightaway to do it all over again. In a world full of double-stack 1911s for competition, Sig really did hit every note right on the GTO. They managed to make both a visually and functionally stunning pistol here. If you pick one up, it's going to be a serious commitment to push this thing to the edge of its performance envelope. And with a little bit of expert tuning, this thing will go blow for blow with some of the insane custom builds. It reminds me of what Sig was doing about a decade ago that made me love them so much. I know Lena has since departed Sig, but one of the GTOs in a rose trim would just be over the top gorgeous. If you've made it this far in the video, then thank you. Leave a like and a comment so we can beat back the algorithm. Also subscribe because I've got a lot more coming your way. Anyway, I've got to get out of here because I have to finally return the calls of the guy who lent this to me.